Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors, and if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled, HOA demolished my terrace with a bulldozer and claimed they own my private property. I got epic revenge. Hello friends, the story I'm about to unfold before you is one that finally ended not too long ago, but it lasted what felt like 4 years. Essentially, my HOA and its president were totally crazy and I was finally able to put a stop to them. However, it took me a little while to accomplish it. Plus my end plan was perfect and no one saw it coming. Anyways, I live in South Africa, that is my home and I love it very much. However, when I had my home built and I moved into my neighborhood over 40 years ago, yeah, you heard that right, I am not young and I am stuck in my stubborn old ways too. At least that is what the HOA president, Anna, told me. So it all started about 10 years ago. I've been dealing with this for that long until last year, when a group of residents in the newer edition of the neighborhood insisted on forming a legal homeowners association. This front half of the housing edition was built many years after my home and those around it. You see, technically there was already an established neighborhood formed, that's the part I live in, that has been around for a long time. A little over a decade ago, a new section of homes was built, but technically they considered us all one neighborhood. This is when the drama started. You see, the residents of the northern part of the neighborhood, the new section, wanted to establish an HOA, which I didn't care, but I was not really interested and I understood that I did not have to sign up for it, especially since I had lived there prior to the HOA being formed. I know this because I did a lot of research when I started getting their letters in the mail, and I'm not really the type to just sign up for something because some ladies in business casual pencil skirts told me to do so. I am not against them trying to change the neighborhood for the better, but there really was not anything wrong with it to begin with. I suppose there were a rare few houses that would let their grass get a little tall, but that happened pretty rarely, especially during the dry months. It became pretty obvious that people who created the HOA really just wanted power and to lord that power over the people that lived there. One board member's husband even worked for the South African police services, which I found out later. And yes, she used her husband's authority to intimidate me. I will get into that soon. Everything was alright for a few months after they were finally legally established, because they were trying to enforce rules before they were even an actual entity with any kind of authority whatsoever. It seemed like at first they were just concerned with their nicer, newer homes in their side of the neighborhood, but eventually they turned their attention to our side. It all started with myself and all of my surrounding neighbors receiving HOA documents establishing their legal authority over our homes. Did I forget to mention that my wife worked for an attorney before she retired? So she knows her stuff. She knew right away that there was no actual jurisdiction over our side of the neighborhood and they would need our full consent and signatures to make us a part of their HOA. Needless to say, I ignored everything. I informed my neighbors as well that they had no legal grounds for our homes. Some of them listened, others were intimidated later by the board members and their shady tactics. Within a few weeks, numerous letters were funneling into my mailbox, nonsense about how mine and my neighbors' homes needed to be painted a specific color to match the community curb appeal, and also how we needed to change our mailboxes for uniformity purposes, and one of my neighbors had to completely tear down his old fence just to build one that looked almost identical because it was too light and not a dark enough wood. Yeah, it's called being bleached by the African sun, you ninny. Anyway, it did not stop there. By the end of the first year, nearly all of my side of the neighborhood eventually consented to the HOA. When I asked them, they said that they were sick of the harassment from them, constant letters and warnings about how they had the authority to do this or that. One single woman said that the main board member even threatened to have a lien taken out on her home if she did not sign up. My house was tucked back a little further into the southern part of the neighborhood, so I was not as easily noticed. But they eventually turned their attention to me and my property, and that is when things really went sour for both of us, because let me tell you, neither me nor the HOA was happy about our battle with each other. The first letters were still just about the siding color and the mailbox, but then that turned to your grass is 3 mm higher than allowed and your porch light was on after such and such time. This was not necessarily to just me, but they eventually put out a packet of rules that was just asinine, spewing BS about how there were curfews past 9 PM and if you were driving through the neighborhood past 11 PM, that they could fine people for disturbances. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard an HOA pull, especially compared to the others around us. One of my neighbors received an outrageous fine for over $500 because her son came home at midnight and his lights were too bright and disturbed the neighborhood. My wife and I also were fined for having the wrong landscaping done to our front yard. They did not want round bushes, they only wanted them to be square or rectangular. When I tried to argue the fine, they simply stated what shrubberies and their designs were allowed in the HOA handbook. I refused to pay the $100 fine because they can F off, and again, I had not consented to the stupid HOA in the first place. Anyway, I did my best to not cause problems for myself and my wife, but they were looking for anything to give us crap for. That is until I decided to upgrade our terrace. Yeah, trust me, I saw this issue with the HOA coming, but the terrace was old and I knew that they would have some issue with whatever I did, no matter what. I even consulted their stupid rulebook to see if there was anything about terraces and colors or styles that they wanted. Not only that, but I looked at the houses in the new edition to compare so that I would choose a railing or color that looks the same. I'm telling you, I tried to do this the easy way. So I had a contractor and did everything right. The terrace was beautiful and my wife was beyond happy with it. During the construction of the terrace, I never received a single letter about it, but not even 2 days after it was finished, I received a letter in the mail stating that I had performed an illegal renovation. I did not ask first, and that I would have to remove the terrace and have it completed to their standards. First of all, it was beautiful and looked a lot like what many of their homes had. I did not see the problem, and well, me being me, I ignored their letters, and again, they did not like that. I was sent the strangest and most aggressive letter from the HOA board leader after I sent my rebuttal back to them about the so-called illegal terrace. Her words were ridiculous and full of nasty opinions, stating that my stubborn old ways were not appreciated and that I would have to conform to their rules and regulations or suffer consequences. She even mentioned sending her police enforcer husband to my door to ensure that I listened. Needless to say, this was not received well, and I sent them my lawyer's information. A few days later there was another letter, this time saying that she had the authority to have my home sold from underneath us and that she had her ways of making people do what she wanted. That sounded like a threat, and I was not going to accept that. I was waiting on word from my lawyer when the HOA queen decided to strike. My wife and I were not home for several hours, and when we came back, our terrace had been completely demolished off the front of our house. It had damaged the structure of the walls and ripped off whole pieces of siding. Tens of thousands of dollars in damages. I had enough and called the police, who were quick to communicate with the HOA, who acted completely oblivious to what had happened. Thankfully, my neighbor across the street had cameras and caught the witch and her husband with a crew tearing down my brand new terrace. Let me tell you, this did not end well for her or her husband. I'm pretty sure he lost his job and she ended up having to sell the house to pay for my house's damages because, you know, I sued the ever-loving hell out of them. And yes, the remaining HOA members asked if I was interested in a seat on the board, and I agreed, ironically. I had in that moment signed up for the HOA and not even 6 months later had it completely dissolved. Yes, that was my plan the entire time, make my way in and destroy it from the inside out. The HOA people got what they deserved, and I not only have a beautiful new terrace again, but now I have a nice modern kitchen as well. You know, it really does not pay to be an a-hole. And yeah, Ripe Stars, thankfully, rarely it pays off to be a douchebag. And even if it is beneficial to you, sooner or later, at least that's what I think, karma will catch up with you. Either way, if you still enjoy the crazy neighbor and HOA stories, then I would really appreciate it if you could post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support the channel. Thank you so much in advance, your help is very much appreciated. And the next one is titled, Neighbor repeatedly stole packages from my doorsteps. She threatened to sue me for catching her on video. The stupidity of the human race will never cease to astound me, but I will admit that things happening to you versus just reading about them is totally different. I'm a long-time lurker and lover of reading these kinds of stories, but until now I never had anything to actually write about. Enter the antagonist of the story, the neighbor that lives down the block from me. The reason she is the antagonist is in the title, but to give a little bit more information, she is a total porch pirate. I could not think of anything else to really call her, so I am just sticking with the classic neighbor title. I want us all to mentally jump back in time to when the pandemic started and buying things online in a lot of households skyrocketed. I was one of those people since I have an underlying condition and I wanted to be careful. With the increase of packages being left on porches meant an increase in a-holes trying to steal them. It was really annoying because we were not doing amazing on money, so when something got stolen we basically got stuck paying for something we did not get. Which is just as bad as throwing it out of the window. We could not tell the company we never got it because mainly it would be a horrible lie because we know it was delivered and they knew it too. They would text a picture of the package sitting nicely on our porch. It got to the point that if I expected something, I was waiting right near the door so I could grab it right when I got that message it was delivered. I had a life though and a job that I was trying to do out of my home, so that was not always an option. I did not know yet who was taking the packages and I decided to spend money that would have been better off on something else, on one of those doorbell cameras. I know they are not that much money, but for us it could have been used for many other more important things. The package stealing was out of control though, and we wanted answers. In fact, we wanted answers so badly that we came up with a plan. For about a week, we would put boxes on our porch that had cheap stuff from the dollar store or stuff we had and did not need. Then used old boxes to make it look like they were new and delivered. Each and every time it was stolen by the same person, and of course it was the neighbor because she is the villain here. At that point we knew who was stealing our packages and we had her on camera. At this point I was not really sure what to do, since I know most stories of porch pirates just have them getting away with it. After some thought I went with the approach to send her the videos of her stealing the packages and telling her that I know she is doing it and she better stop. What I did not expect though is for her to come banging on my door and screaming until I opened it. I will give her this much, she at least had a mask and stepped back when I told her to. Me? Sorry, you seem to have missed the deliveries for today. I know I was being snarky, but I really didn't care after she decided to pull all of this crap and make my life more difficult. Neighbor, I got those things you sent me, and I want to let you know that if you don't take that thing down right now and erase all the footage of me, I am going to sue you. Me? It is my property and I can have a porch camera if I want to. I'm not deleting the footage, and if I catch you stealing off of my property again, I'm going to call the police and give all of this to them. Neighbor, you clearly don't know anything about the law. It is illegal to videotape somebody without their permission, so your own tapes are going to be evidence against you when I sue you for everything you have. She walks away and I am left stunned that she is trying to turn this whole thing around when she is the one stealing from me. Also, the only things legally I could find regarding filming without permission or knowledge is always referring to public property. This is my porch though, and I have the legal right to put a camera there and record anybody I want to. And well guys, especially thieves. Either way, she also knows about the camera, so she has knowledge of it, and all she needs to do is stay off my porch, which she is not even invited on. My husband tells me that calling the police probably won't do anything. However, I call the non-emergency line anyway and file a complaint and send in the tapes of her stealing. This does not seem like enough though, so I decide to go one step further to get revenge on her. My guess is that if she is stealing from me, then she is stealing from other people in the neighborhood too. Since she knows I have a camera and that her threat to sue me is useless, I had a feeling that she was going to back off for a while and hit some other porches. I took a still image of her on my porch that showed the most of her face and put it into a document. I wrote about how others should be aware because we have a porch pirate in our area. Then I printed a bunch of copies and went outside, carefully putting the papers into people's mailboxes or in their screen doors. It did not take long before I could hear talk around the whole neighborhood of how they did not know that she was the one really stealing their packages. Yeah, it turned out my hunch was right and she actually had been stealing from multiple homes, and now everyone was on high alert for the neighbor. I think some others got cameras and some just kept a really close eye when they knew a package was coming. So we basically stopped the neighbor from stealing from us, but I was still worried that she might just pick a new block or neighborhood. Remember when I called the police even though my husband said it was pointless? Well, they actually eventually did something, and I don't know if it was because of my call or if others also called in about her, so she would have had multiple complaints filed. Sadly, she did not get arrested or anything crazy because, like I said, the laws with porch pirating are kind of still being developed, and even with proof, the police usually cannot get you your things back. They must have spoken to her though and threatened her about trespassing and theft, because afterwards her entire attitude seemed to change. Instead of threatening to sue everybody, she did not really want to look anyone in the eye, and I think was too scared to steal from anywhere else in case she got caught on camera again. She was totally shunned by everyone on the block and everyone in the area that heard about what she did. Even though she sadly did not get arrested, she did become a total social pariah and could not leave her house without people pointing and whispering about her. And yeah, I'm curious, Ripe Stars, if you would have been in OP's situation and your neighbor constantly kept stealing your packages and other stuff, would you have done the same, or do you think that OP went too far? Let us know what you think in the comments. Cleaning herself in the drawer, not in the bathroom. Right, isn't it? Hello, Disney. Yeah guys, so basically Disney is ready to sleep in her little box and I'm ready to continue working. That's how it usually goes, right Disney? Gotta get that 18 hours of sleep somehow, because someone was quite active at night, almost did not let us sleep, and then woke us up early in the morning. Sometimes my girlfriend, she likes to sleep with Disney in the same room, but usually I don't like that so much because I don't really like waking up at 6 o'clock, to be honest, especially not on a weekend. But yeah, sometimes it's just cute to sleep with Disney. So yeah. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I see you again tomorrow. And Ripe Stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel, but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously, and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.